Hello everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio. Today I'm sharing with you a video hop. This is a digital background swap collaboration with three other artists, Bea Grobe, Martha from I Love to Paint AL Art, and Gina B. Aarons. And we all make videos, so we all make a background in a seasonal, some type of a seasonal background every 3 months. This one is the fall autumn. And we make the background, then we scan it at a high resolution and we share it with each other. And then each of us prints out the backgrounds and we use them in some type of art. So it's like a two-step process. We have all these papers that we can use and then we make something. And so this first part of the video is me showing you how I made my background that I then scanned and sent to the other artists. And what you'll do is you will watch my video and then go down below where it says show more. There will be 3 other links for you to go and watch, see what other people did with the same exact papers. And you can click on those, click through, and then go to the next one and the next one. Give everyone a thumbs up, comments, all those type of things. People out there need video love. So do that, and then you will have been through all the hop. So what I did to create my background that I scanned is I had started out with a piece of painty paper. It has some Naples yellow and some browns. It's from gel printing and it is deli paper. And then I took some other pieces and I cut them out or tore them up and layered them on there with some Yoo-hoo glue stick to have kind of a collage background. Because, you know, I collage, right? That's what I do. The next step I did was to take some fluid acrylic paint. These are the Deco Art Media paints in some fall colors. When I think about fall, I think about gold and rust and red and orange and maybe a little bit of olive green type colors. So those are the colors that I'm using. I'm just brayering them on there with a 2-inch brayer to make it more interesting. Add a little bit more color, bring things together a little bit. And then the next thing I did after that was to do a little bit of shading and add a little bit more color as well with Neocolor 2 water-soluble crayons, and I'm just scratching them onto the paper and then blending them out with a water brush to add some shadows around some of the shapes. I've got some leaf shapes. Whenever I do something fall, it ends up having leaves on it because that's like my #1 thing for fall, even though I don't live somewhere where we drop leaves. But I used to. I remember leaves. I remember the trees changing color. And so that's always what I think about. And these are the colors I think about. So then the last thing I did with my background was I added some white splatter with my Posca pen, and then I let it dry and I scanned it. Here's what it looked like when it was scanned. I shared it with the other 3 artists so that they could print it out and use it in their projects. So now here comes my project. So right here I'm showing you the original and then my printed version. They don't look the same. I didn't have an option to print these for a laser printer, and so I ended up printing them on my inkjet printer, which means that they are not really safe for collage until I seal them. But I wanted to do something different that I haven't done. I've been doing this digital background collaboration 4 times a year for at least 3 years. And some of those other videos, I made some really interesting stuff. I will put them in the iCards and in the end screen links for you to watch some of the other ones that I did. But one thing I've never done is to alter the papers. I've just taken them as they are, printed them out, and then used them. I didn't ever like try to change them at all. But I thought it might be kind of fun to try some stencil rubbing and to maybe make a few different marks on these papers in that way. So I put the stencil underneath the paper and then use some type of a sanding block to sand off the top layer of the color. And you get this interesting rubbing effect, which I think is really cool. And I've never tried to do it on printed paper before like this from my printer. I had to rub a lot harder than I do on the paper that I get from the magazine, which is what I usually do this with. But I got some interesting stuff out of it. I thought, you know, it's a stencil design, but you can't really tell how you did it, right? Did you stencil it? No, it's the opposite of the stencil. And so then I did seal each one of these with some fluid matte medium by just dripping it on there and using my brayer to go over the paper and seal it up. Another way that I altered some of the paper just a little bit is I did a little bit of stenciling over these last two, which are mine and Gina's. Gina's was really light, and I thought maybe I would deepen up some of the colors. I know that it's probably not the same color as what her original is because just like you saw at the beginning there with mine, the colors are not as intense when I printed them out with on regular paper with a inkjet printer. So I just stenciled over the top of them a little bit in some areas to try to alter it just a little bit to see what would come out. And this one is mine. I did some more stencil rubbing on this one. So I had some fun doing this. I thought it was interesting how things happened and how, that what I got out of it. I definitely did not use these papers up this time. I have a lot left, a lot of these papers left. But I just used bits and pieces of them, which is how I work anyway. I use pieces of paper, little components that I make all the time. So then the next thing, one thing that I noticed about our papers this round is that they're all very similar. They have similar colors, they have similar tone. There's not dark and light. There's just not a lot of variation. And so I wanted to bring in some dark neutrals and some light neutrals to use in conjunction in my collage this time. Ended up being kind of a sort of an abstract collage a little bit, just because I thought it needed more variation. I thought if I just used the papers that we all made, that it would just all look the same. There wasn't enough difference. And when I start to lay everything out, you will see what I mean here. But before I do that, I'm taking some of these magazine pieces and I'm doing some rubbing with them. Really fun technique. I recommend it. You do make a little bit of dust and you need to clean it up, but it's fun. I've also got a picture of some mesquite pods, and I thought I would use that because that's a very fall thing here. We don't drop leaves, but we do drop pods. We basically got two types of trees, mesquites and palo verdes, and both of them drop pods. The mesquite pods can be made into flour, which the natives do that. I've seen I could have bought the flour if I wanted to. I've never actually done it. I imagine it tastes kind of woody. The mesquite pods have little beans inside, and I imagine that's the part that you use. I don't know for sure, but just an interesting little fun fact. It's different living in the desert, and not very many people have experienced it, so I like to share a little bit of it. I also have another picture that has some kind of seeds or something in it as well that had the different colors. And then I did want to add a couple other papers just for interest, but I'm kind of laying this out. And I'm putting the dark neutrals on the outsides, like on the corners, to frame in everything. And then I'm using these warm colors that are coming from the papers that we all created. And I'm making sort of a cross shape of warmness in the middle. It's not really a cross, but it crosses. The rule of thirds, I like to put something 2/3 and 1/3. So, and I like vertical shapes when I'm doing a collage like this, so I tend to put something vertically and then maybe something across the other way to break it up. And by putting the warm ones in the middle and the cooler ones on the outside, it keeps your interest, it keeps your eyes in the center of the piece. So then I thought a couple other types of paper I pulled out. would be interesting. This is a map, and it has that kind of peachy tan color on it, which I thought would be cool. Also, the map has words that say Maple Grove, and I was thinking about sugar maples and how they change color in the fall so much. So I thought that would be just kind of a nod to fall, is to use those words, Maple Grove. Not obvious, but what's interesting about this type of art is that you look at it and you see, okay, first you look at it and you see something. Then if you continue to look, you will find a lot of little interesting details and layers and just stuff to look at, interesting stuff to look at. So that's how I approach it. Mixed media is very much about the layers, the pattern, and there will be meaning in things inside my art that people won't notice immediately. So I'm telling you about the Maple Grove thing. I don't know if anybody would have noticed it or not if I hadn't said it, but if you study, you will see things inside. So after I'd laid it out, kind of generally, I did take a picture of my layout and on my phone so that I could go back and, sometimes you're going along and you're like, I dumped all the papers off and now I don't know where I had them. I just spent all that time making this composition and then I dumped the papers off and I can't repeat it. So I did use that tool of my phone to just take a little picture. It might not be exactly the same, but it's similar. Indeed, it's similar. So still building the warm area in the center and the cooler areas on the outside with those stencil rubbed dark neutrals. The other papers that I added, one of them is a dictionary page, which is a light neutral. Another one is a piece of sack, a craft sack that has some black printing on it. I thought that it went well with the shapes and colors I was going for. The thing that's printed on there, something you see a lot, but it is based in nature. Some type of it almost reminds me of a pine cone, some sort of a cluster of something. I don't know. It's not a fleur-de-lis exactly, but it's kind of like that. And then, of course, the map. I have the map on there too. And then I've got the pod, the mesquite pod. I just tore it into one, up and down. It's very dramatic. It definitely draws your eye up and down. But I'm struggling with needing some more stuff in the center there. And I'm still not sure what I'm going to do. But I'm finishing up my background, making sure that everything is glued down really well with my Liquitex matte gel medium. And my Distress Collage brush, press it down, make sure there's no bubbles. I don't know if I said this is an 8x10 canvas panel, so it's a flat panel with canvas stretched over it and gessoed. So it would be nice framed with a black frame, or you could just put a wire across it with a little bit of tape and hang it that way without a frame if you wanted to. It's definitely fall. It definitely invokes the colors and feeling of fall. So I wanted something else on there, and I had these skeleton leaves. These leaves have been soaked in something that's removed the plant matter, and you're just left with the veins of it. So I colored them black with some archival ink because I didn't like the plain tan color. I thought it needed to be something darker than that. And I decided to add a little bit of mark making with some more stenciling. That particular stencils were designed to make marks. So I put some little Titan Buff X's, and then I thought maybe a little bit of dripping with some acrylic ink would be nice. I started out with a sepia tone and some water and let it drip down. And then I used a mustardy type color, golden mustard, and it really did look like I dripped mustard on my canvas. Like, this is too much. I had to blot it back. I like the color, but it got overwhelming. So then I added in one that's called Rusted, of the acrylic inks, and it's a rust color, kind of toning things down, drying everything up with my heat tool, and kind of moving the ink around with my heat tool as well. It was kind of fun to chase it. Then I did a little bit of finger painting with the buff color to kind of integrate some of my collage together, so it's not looking so separated like a grid. But of course, then I went in with this pencil. This is a jumbo pencil, and it's in kind of a reddish brown color. I can't remember the name of it right now. It has an interesting name. Just to make some marks. And then I thought what I really needed was more dark. So I got out that stencil again, the mark making stencils designed by Kat Kerr, and it has this one that reminds me of a railroad, but it's got an interesting shape, and I thought that I would bring out the drama with some of my vertical and horizontal shapes going on by stenciling in black. And then I also use this fun little U-shaped one just to add a few different colors of dark, areas of dark color with these C's or U's, I'm not sure, but it started to look more interesting. Then I wanted a spiral actually. I wanted some type of a spiral, and I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to do that. So I grabbed out this stencil, which is basically just like a circle scribble. It's a cool stencil. And I started to make this type of a spiral shape because I still wanted to put on those leaves that I had colored dark, so I needed to lighten up that area. I ended up using only one of the leaves that I had colored with the archival ink, but it wasn't dramatic enough. So then I went back to my papers, and I found this other leaf that was on a paper, and it had some of those greens in it. And I thought, that's going to work, I think. So I cut it out with an X-Acto knife, and then I layered it with the other skeleton leaf on top. And that made it interesting. If you're liking this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up, and leave a comment or question below. Subscribe, turn on your notifications, all those type of stuff. Share this, pin it, whatever. Also, don't forget to hop through the rest of the videos. The links are below, and you can hop through and see what the other people did. Don't forget to do that, and give them love too. Likes and comments and pins and whatever. But that made a difference. I felt I got my focal spot there that drew the eye by putting that kind of greenish colored leaf. It has some veining in it, and then the other one on top, of course. Now I'm just adding some shading with India ink around the leaves to make it more dramatic, and I'm blending it hard out with the water brush. And then I added some buff titanium colored splatters with my fan brush. And then I still wanted something. I wanted something. And so I'm looking through all my metal pieces and buttons and different things. I was looking actually for like a copper colored something like a spiral, but I didn't find what I was looking for. Then I found these little wooden pieces, and one of them says peace, and that actually really I thought that was perfect. So I glued that on and added my name, and I was done. So here comes the close-ups. That's it for me. Thanks. Bye-bye.